Good afternoon. Hi, my name's Wombat Lyons, and I'm the bookings officer for the Trafalgar Public Hall. It's one of many volunteer roles I've held in Trafalgar, and I want to talk to you about the upcoming Australia Day breakfast celebrations in Trafalgar, which I'm very proud to be a part of planning, and the Public Hall team are very keen to continue our support of. For those who haven't seen the event on Facebook, it's on the pages of the Trafalgar Public Hall, Trafalgar Rotary, and maybe a few other community groups. So you should be able to find the event details. But with formalities starting at 8:30, the building open from 8, come along, have breakfast with us. The Lions Club of Trafalgar do an amazing job on the catering. I'm moving my head so you can see I have all three flags behind me. We put all three flags out on the stage for Australia Day. It's not a long ceremony. The ceremony includes the Citizen of the Year presentations. These awards have traditionally been owned by the TCDA, and with the closure, or the slow closure of the TCDA over a number of years, a combination of community groups have come together to continue seeing the awards. It's delivered in the name of the TCDA, but we really know it as the Traf Citizen of the Year. And our town newspaper, the Trafalgar and District News, previously the Traf News, Trafalgar Rotary, lots of past award recipients, all working to deliver those awards. I hope you can join us. If you're in town on the 26th of January, I hope you can join us for breakfast. Thank the Lions Club volunteers for their work, cooking up a beautiful barbecue breakfast, bacon and sausages, and celebrate. Volunteers in our community, a young citizen of the year, our citizens of the year, people who have contributed to community life in Trafalgar. That's what Australia Day is for me. It's a celebration of community. There's lots of discussions about lots of different parts of Australia Day, but for me, the Trafalgar Australia Day breakfast is about our community, postcode 3824, everything that makes up the town we live in. I came outside to get better light, and clearly the clouds just cleared that moment, and now it's very bright. I want to tell you a little bit more about my personal journey with the Trafalgar Australia Day. So I took a job at Trafalgar High School in May 2010. It seems like a lifetime ago. And soon after getting that job, I found a property to live in Yarragon, which is now where my mum, those who have met Dr. Judy from the Rotary Club, that's where she now lives. I loved having the farm in Yarragon, and I had the goats on the farm, but also became part of town life in Yarragon and became part of the Yarragon Community Association, and I was secretary for a while there. Shirley Westerberg was our chairperson, and there were a lot of very well-known Yarragon identities on that committee. And being part of that committee over 2010 and then the start of 2011, I represented Yarragon on the Baw Baw Shire's Australia Day Committee. This committee had three purposes. It would administer the free Australia Day events that at that time Baw Baw Shire delivered in-house. Warrigal, Druin, and Trafalgar. So it was actually event staff of Baw Baw Shire that ran the Trafalgar celebration. During that, they would always hand over to the TCDA to present their community awards, and they've been presented for a long, long time. And in the November 2024 Traf and District News, I think you can find the list of every recipient since that award started. But it includes people like Tiff Viney, who was the group leader for so many years of the first Trafalgar Scouts. Darren Wallace, who has given amazing service and been honoured in so many ways for his service to the Trafalgar and District, maybe I have their name wrong, Trafalgar Rural Fire Brigade. Anyway, we all know Darren's contribution to the CFA here in Trafalgar. They're just some of the many recipients. Zach Wallace, Darren's son, one of the youth recipients. Troy Oates, and I've had the pleasure in recent years of assisting the TCDA to identify Young Citizens of the Year. People like Vanessa Hornby, who was one of the scout leaders at First Trafalgar. So many young citizens come through. Not a few years, so at that time, with the Trafalgar Australia Day Committee, I would represent Yarragon. Yarragon received a grant from the Shire to deliver some years it was a morning tea, some years it was an afternoon tea. The Yarragon CFA would come down to the park in town, raise the flag on the flagpole. It was very simple. They've actually evolved their event quite a bit, and they're now a morning event like ourselves. Traff was done in-house, but Trafalgar was changing its approach. Traff was represented, so even though the Shire managed it, it still had a community rep, and that was Tom Neville, who was from the Lions Club, and shows that long link between the Trafalgar Lions Club and the Trafalgar Australia Day Breakfast. Now, since 2011, and right up until, and I'm hands-on for this year, every one of those years I've had some role to play in the Trafalgar event. When it was being a community member on the Shire Committee, it was really easy. It was sharing opinions, Yarragon and Trafalgar working together, supporting the formal Traff event delivered by the Shire. The Arts Centre delivered the sound and audio equipment. The Shire would arrange which councillor was going to speak and handle all of that in-house. They'd arrange a guest speaker, usually one of the formal Australia Day ambassadors appointed by the Australia Day Council. So nationwide, there is an Australia Day Council that is auspiced by the federal government, and they appoint a large number of people in each state who are ambassadors, and you can book those ambassadors to speak at your Australia Day if you are a formal event recognised by the Victorian part of that national committee, which Trafalgar Shire, as a local government entity, absolutely recognised. And so they used to get those key speakers in across all the events. Now, Trafalgar Shire reformed how they were delivering Australia Day, and they focused their efforts in on the Central Australia Day celebrations in Warragul with the award ceremony at the West Gippsland Arts Centre. And over time, you've seen that evolve. Sometimes that's on Australia Day, sometimes that's in the week before Australia Day, sometimes that's in business hours, sometimes that's an evening event. Like, that's moved around. It includes a citizenship ceremony, one of the many formal duties that the Shire undertakes on behalf of the Australian government. And, you know, they've evolved their event, but what they came out of doing was directly delivering the Trafalgar Breakfast. And as a community, at the time, I was the chairperson of the Trafalgar Community Development Association, so the TCDA. And I received, a few years after that, the Trafalgar Citizen of the Year Award, and being chairperson at TCDA was probably a big part of what people shared with the community. And we were quite happy to run our event. We had a bit of a team. Tom Neville was around. There were 3 or 4 other people from the Lions Club who came on board. There were 2 or 3 people who came on board from the Trafalgar Public Hall, including myself. We also had a number of people from the TCDA. We moved from the community centre, which is a building run by Trafalgar Shire, to the Trafalgar Public Hall, larger building, had seating for 200, so no one had to stand around the walls, if you remember those earlier events. Now at the Public Hall, everyone can be seated, and in fact now, so at the community centre, and the first kind of time we used the Public Hall, we ran the same routine. where everyone would be sitting in rows, and then we'd have to move all the chairs, bring the tables out, and then you sat around the tables to eat your breakfast. Do you remember that Trafalgar shuffle we used to do as part of the Australia Day celebrations? Now we don't do it. We just start the event sitting at tables, and it makes life easier. Anyway, this is a really long video, and I hope you're hanging in there because it's 10 minutes and 20 seconds already. This takes us through to the modern period, and over time, that committee of people who were helping run the event has got smaller and smaller. I was able to take over that time since the community took control of the event. It was a collaboration between the Lions Club, the Public Hall and the TCDA. I was able to take 1 year off when I got invited to represent Scouts Victoria at the Lord Mayor of Melbourne's celebrations at the Melbourne Town Hall, and Sujaka emceed the Australia Day. I still did all the event planning as part of that committee and with that committee, but I was able to take the year off. That takes us at the 11-minute mark. That takes us into why I'm actually making this really long video and sharing it out there for the community. I'm not going to continue leading the Australia Day planning and efforts. This year will be my last. And I've said this before. I've said this on Australia Day many, many times. But my volunteering's changing. My volunteering with Scouts, in the current state role I have with Scouts, I have 11 months left. I don't know what I'll be doing next in Scouting. Who knows if that will be another state role? Will that be a regional role here in Gippsland? Will I be back at First Trafalgar Scout Group? I don't know what my next journey is. That will depend on the next Chief Commissioner and what they might offer me to volunteer for in Scouting. But I want to be available to do any of that. My own personal values around Australia Day continue to change and evolve. We all change and evolve. We all learn more about what this event means to different people in our community. I think it's really important that we have a day we celebrate our community and what makes the community of Trafalgar brilliant. Does that day need to be on a date that disengages so many of our fellow residents of town? That needs some consideration. And I have my own thoughts on those, and it's really hard to think through and reflect on my own thoughts about that if I'm focused on delivering the community its community event. It is amazing that Bullbushire give us our funding, and for that funding we can pay the Trafalgar Public Hall Committee some money, which helps with the maintenance of the hall, covers, the power, the water, using the hall to run an event still has an impact on the hall and the hall's budget, so it's nice to put some money in. The Lions Club buy local. One of the things I really love about Pat and Ian and Trevor and the whole team at the Lions Club who deliver the catering of Australia Day, they buy local, they support local businesses, and they do great work. But what was a team effort when the Shire pulled out of running it themselves is really now one person being the ringmaster, the Lions Club doing their own thing in the catering circles and just confirming for me that they're under control, the Traff Public Hall just running the budget, paying out the receipts, the awards committee involving people. I don't think they want to be named. They like to be a little bit anonymous so they don't get lobbied about the award. But we know that Judy Bishop has led that team this year. I'm sure she will continue to lead that team. They're very well supported by our town newspaper. But that group of people working very, very hard on their award and having the awards ready. But someone, and it should be a group of people, need to coordinate the central part. Need to do things like plan the setup session. Need to do things like liaise, now that we can't just get the audio equipment from the West Gippsland Arts Centre. Need to liaise with supporters who can help us out with that equipment. We've been pretty lucky. I work for Trafalgar High School. It's very easy for me to ask the leadership of the high school to borrow equipment. But all that takes work, and we need someone to do that work. And after the 26th of January this year, I'm no longer doing that work. So here's the open appeal, a week out before Australia Day. Take time, please message the Trafalgar Public Hall page, or on Australia Day, come up and speak to me at the breakfast and say you would like to form the committee that's going to take this event forward. Because if no committee is in place and having started the planning in November, what will happen is the email will come from the Baw Baw Shire saying, is this event going to continue? And we as a community are going to have to say, no, we don't have the people to run it. So if you would like to see our community still have a breakfast, that event still be coordinated, we need the next generation of volunteers to step up and make it happen. So if you can be one of those people, let us know. But this committee needs to be in place and ready to start their planning from November 2025. Otherwise, hope to see everyone who's in town on Australia Day stop by for an hour down at the Public Hall. Speeches start at 8:30. Councillor Kingwell is going to kick off our speeches after our acknowledgement of country. Councillor Kingwell will speak on behalf of the Baw Baw Shire with an update on all sorts of news from around Baw Baw Shire. He then needs to head off to Yarragon. Told you, both events are now at the same time. But our festivities will continue with Judy Bishop presenting the Citizen of the Year and Young Citizen of the Year awards. And yeah, then a beautiful breakfast catered by the Lions Club and those wonderful hardworking volunteers. So you've given up 17 minutes to watch this video. A huge thank you. Please make sure other people in the community of Trafalgar know all about Australia Day and that we seek new volunteers.